Tribunal declares PDP's Natasha Akpoti winner of Kogi Central Senatorial election. Nullifies election of Abubakar Ohiri. APC's Emmanuel Udende sacked by tribunal. Gabriel Suswam announced as winner of Benue Northeast Senatorial District. Abia Tribunal declares Onye Jocha winner of Isikwato Umunochi Federal Constituency. Sacks LP's Amobioga. Ondo Governor Akeredolu returns home 3 months after embarking on medical trip. NLC shuns meeting with government proceeds on 2-day warning strike. TUC shuns strike, gives federal government 2 weeks to address demands. Police fired tear gas as UNILAG students protest hike in school fees. Students demand release of arrested colleagues as school management blames economy for hike. Police arrest UNILAG lecturer accused of raping 20-year-old female student in his office. Consumers fume as government increase prices for electricity meters by 40%. CBN loans more expensive to service budget office. 16.5 trillion naira lost to crude oil theft in 14 years. NEITI. House of Reps flays MDs of NIMASA, MPA, and NPCL for shunning probe. Obaseki swears in newly elected local government chairman in Edo State. RCCG pastor Gandhi Olaoye installed as new Sohun of Ogbomosho. Niger coup, junta reopens airspace for civil aircraft. General Nguema sworn in as interim president in Gabon, as junta releases ousted President Ali Bongo, grants him permission to travel abroad for treatment. Russian invasion. It's time for new approach, says Zelensky, as Ukraine's president dismisses defense chief. UK to declare Wagner Group a terrorist organization. Today is the 9th of September 2023, coinciding with 23rd of Safar 1445 AH. It's a beautiful morning, smooth drive here, alhamdulillah. Just a small hiccup just a few minutes to the studio. I met with our gentlemen in uniform and they flagged me down and my face strong, kakaraka. Ask me what the guy said. He didn't approach and say, Alaja, you were beautiful before. I just burst. I just shook my head and thought, oh wow, fresh lines coming from a gentleman. And a good morning to you, Dr. OLUBUNMI. Let's get started. I think I want to get, absolute pleasure to be here. I want to go to the summit in India and
the G20 summit.
Indeed, we touched on this last year because it was incoming. It was something fresh news. So now it's here. They're there in the summit and. So the service chiefs that he met with the service chiefs before leaving for the G20 summit, and what's the highlight of that meeting?
Well, a lot of details concerning that meeting, were not made public,
as it should be, ideally,
as normal. But and at the same time, when you don't provide information concerning some of these meetings, you leave people with nothing but speculation concerning probably the essence of the meeting. To government quarters said it's routine briefing of the president that he got from the service chiefs concerning security situation in the country and possibly some of the other new initiatives that can be adopted to address some of these emerging threats. But to some of the quarters, they were actually speculating that that was more like 2 days before the judgment of the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal, and some were trying to link up more like trying to probably put a lot of pressure on the judges and things like that, probably strategizing in case the government the judgment does not go the way of the president, probably just trying to find a way to calm fraileness or just to forestall any kind of untoward reaction that could come from the general public. And some might say it's a case of, even if for instance the court decides to nullify the election, is they probably trying to get reassurance from the military of their loyalty towards democratic governance. So many speculations, but by and large, what matters most for me as a commander-in-chief, every now and then the president will get his briefing from his service chiefs. So I just think that beyond just the normal briefing that he gets from the service chiefs, he should also have his own men on ground to really give him first-hand information beyond just the whatsoever reports that he gets from the service chiefs. Naturally, even if someone is not performing, but for the fact that he has been assigned a responsibility, he'll try as much as possible to come up with a defense, or probably paint a picture of everything is normal, there's no issue and things like that. Whereas those who are direct victims or who are direct witnesses probably to some atrocities will probably have a different kind of perspective to some of these things. So I think to a large extent for the president, having at least different sources of getting information concerning security situation in the country is something that is very much desirable.
Right.
But then, at least for the G8 and for the president, when some were trying to link up the meeting with the service chiefs with the PEPT judgment, so someone like this president does not seem bothered. If he seems bothered, he will not travel for the G20 summit. But he doesn't care about it because he's sure of probably the supporters of APC were claiming that no
that he doesn't care. It's more
it's not as if he doesn't. What I mean is, it's not as if he doesn't care, that he's not so moved by whatever would happen, that they've done their homework.
Not just that. I think from where I sit or stand or squat,
you want to
I
believe that he is privy to
no, not too far from it. Actually, I see him as someone who believes, Makudeku kind of thing.
Yeah, so why should I disturb
let me carry on my work. If then it turns around and I'm no longer the president, I would have done, but I would work till the last minute.
Yes,
right? That's what I see.
Okay.
And so that's
the perspective. So it's also what I'm trying to say, that he doesn't allow that to distract him.
Yes.
So
focus on the work at hand. Yeah,
he's keeping his eye on the ball, and that I give him credit for that. That regardless of whether or not I remain the president, for now I am the de facto president of this country, and I have a task to perform. I have a job to do. Yeah. So, and part of the job is to ensure that the economy has, a dramatic turnaround, and that I cannot achieve
sitting down in the office and brooding over what election tribunal will say.
So I think to a large extent that I need to actually attract, foreign direct investment. And minus that, the thing that is even that, in case even the judgment does not, because first you must understand that this is appeal court ruling, and that's not the final stage of it.
So
even if anyone would actually fret over anything, it has to be the Supreme Court, judgment. That's number one. The number two is the fact that within the very short time that I have, can I do even some things that will actually endear me to Nigerians, such that in case the probably court orders a rerun, or
they would see that I've got the audience.
They would see that no, this guy,
your tent with me. So I have to
it's even a better opportunity for me to even endear myself to Nigerians.
Indeed.
I know quite well that a lot of them.
About me is long ago that I served, openly in public office, right? So they probably have forgotten my mouth.
Now the kinds of things.
Now I can put it in.
It's a perfect opportunity for him to actually endear himself to the masses, not necessarily about whether or not for the fact that a lot of people were so apprehensive, as if this is the final stage of as far as prosecution of electoral cases is concerned. Certainly it's not, and I still an opportunity for appeal. So if that is the case, then why should I fret over that? And I think to a large extent, at least going by some of the things that we're seeing, or the feelers we're getting from the G20 summit, you have a situation where a president, unlike probably in the past that would just pack himself with government functionaries, he actually went with business executives. These are people that can actually deliver. For me, these are the people that I need to really speak with investors, let them partner. Because these are local investors, and they've been doing a yeoman's job, not just even within Nigeria. In fact, for the whole of Africa, their business interests. So, is it not better for me to bring this investment and secure partnership arrangement with some of these other executives from all parts of the world that would attend the G20 summit? It's an economic summit, mind you, so it's not as if it's a political summit. So it's an economic summit, and I need these people on board. So he only went with probably about 3 or 4 ministers, with critical assignment. Look at Minister of Trade and Investment.
Absolutely.
You talk about that. You talk about which other minister? One or two. In fact, you can hardly even think around the minister. You were looking at the business executives that he went with in the pharmaceutical industry, knowing quite well that India is actually the pharmacy capital of the world.
Yeah.
So you're talking about people like Dangote or Tedola, Tony Elumelu, and the likes like that. These are the entrepreneurs that
probably even funded themselves on the trip. Not even
soaking government.
See, makes absolute sense.
Make absolute sense. And at the end of the day, what did we get? That the president has been able to attract investment of probably close to $14 billion. On that trip. At least if I don't know of any, we know of the Induja family that's actually into steel and solid minerals and things like that, and they have promised investment of nothing less than $3 billion. Imagine all that probably entering into the economy. Some will say, after all, there is no memorandum, no MOU signed or things like that. If they will sign, they don't have to do that in public. These are business people. So but at least that you have actually got the comment. And the president said one thing which I actually cherish very much. I might have my reservations about him, but when someone does well, let us credit him. And he said, see, I have come with a team. I'm not alone, but I am the captain of that team, and I am ready. See, you have nothing to fear. If there are issues, raise it, ask questions. We are here to actually attend to all of them. That shows leadership, and that is something that we need at this moment. So whether or not they'll be able to stay true to that is another thing entirely, but at least that willingness to go all out. And he said it's not as if Nigeria is not rich, that we've got everything. The challenge has always been leadership and the human factor. That remove that God has blessed this nation with the population, with the resources, the human resources, with the natural resources. So what else do we have? Our problem is not about resources. Our problem is the leadership, managing, such. He said leadership and management. So and if he's able to identify that, and I think I'll give him the kudos.
It's the problem solved. So let's go to the highlights of the week. Metro line that came alive on Monday. The Blue Line has officially commenced commercial operations here in Lagos. Promised that the Red Line will be delivered end of the year alongside our Port Harcourt refinery. I won't forget. I put it side by side because on my calendar I'm ticking all the things. So we'll come back and check. Have they fulfilled?
Have they done that? Yeah. The governor of Lagos, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, actually flagged off the commercial operations of the Blue Line project. This is something that is coming on board almost 40 years after the first the dream was actually conceived by the late Sage Pa Jakande of Lagos. And sincerely,
I wish he was here to
seriously that this was what I dreamt of. And coincidentally, it was the government of Buhari that actually stopped that project. And almost 40 years after, the same Buhari came to launch that project. When it was first launched, so it was ironical. And at the end of the day, probably I was just asking myself, what will be going on in the mind of this man, and I was actually responsible for this particular thing, this setback. But one way or the other, this more like correcting some of these mistakes to a large extent. Let's give kudos to the government of Lagos for the fact that this is something that has been on board for almost 16 years. Because I remember that the project actually started around 2007 when Fashola first came on board, and Yaradua was actually brought on board to actually flag off the commencement of the project. And at the end of the day, we have spent about 16 years trying to fix that project. But it's not the effort that actually matters, but actually the result. And for me, and this is just the first phase of the project, the Blue rail line.
So Blue Line is the one that goes
from Mile 2 up to from Marina to Mile 2. The full stretch is actually up to Okoko, or to Badagry
all the way.
Yeah. So but then at least first phase Mile 2. So we expect that beyond Mile 2 the government can actually and the government said they would work on towards extending to Okoko for the next 3 years or so, that by 2026-27 that stretch would also be open. Imagine the ease of commuting in Lagos if we have such a wonderful project fully implemented, fully operational, and properly managed. Now my own grasp actually is that of management. Now that we have started, I hope that we'll be able to maintain, and you could see the excitement. Not just, see, on the part of the governor, it was almost as if the governor was just like a kid trying to he was ecstatic that finally we have done this and I have delivered this. And it was in the midst of that excitement said, I'm telling you that the red line will also be delivered, will be commissioned by December of this year. That in fact, ordinarily, that they've done about 95% of that project. So it's just one or two things: getting the coaches on board, doing even the training for the locomotive drivers is already ongoing, and things they're trying to recruit and things like that. So for me, I don't hang on to promises, I hang on to delivery. So we hope that they will deliver more than they are promising now. And to a large extent, the maintenance. And you could also see the excitement even on Nigerians. See, some of them really don't have anything to do in Marina. But they were just like saying that
I must be
on board. If someone said, I'm waiting, I missed the first one because I actually didn't know the schedule. But then I missed it. I'm ready to wait another 2 hours for the next batch so that I can be on. I just want to, for the fun of it. Imagine Nigerians actually going on a ride, at least just to relieve the pressure, and it's something that makes it worthwhile moving, because quite well that if you look at the traffic, the stress of having to commute by road, I imagine you just sitting in a comfy environment like that, on a train, probably browsing with your phone, or you're looking at the scenery of Lagos. It's something that excites, and we just hope that they can actually do. And beyond the blue and red line, there are some other lines too, because there's some other areas that have actually not been touched. But in the master plan of Lagos, you actually have that. The strategic development plan drawn by the current president, actually, it's something that we also need a kind of rail that will probably link the mainland to other suburbs, like the island to other suburbs like Ekpe, Ikorodu, and the likes like that.
No Berja, from Berja to the interland.
Yeah, because you already have a rail line around because I understand you better. But then the reality is this:
imagine there's a BRT bus from Berja to TDS, right? Yes. Imagine that is covered by a train. Oh my God!
It's something. But then one way or the other, see, what I think we should look at is how we can actually connect all this. See,
that mass transit, we need more
intermodal transport system where the rail can actually link up with the roads, can link up even with water transport. Imagine Lagos.
See, one thing that they've achieved is that carry car that can go on all
those.
That is beautiful. That's like Oyster card in London. Yeah. That is so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
To a large extent, so kudos to Lagos government.
Do you have a carry card?
Not yet.
You should have. I have 4 carry cards.
Wow.
And I've never used one. But I just have them ready to
because at any point in time that might be.
I can just park and ride. I mean, come seriously. On. Yes,
imagine if probably with that at a point I just feel like I need to get to the island.
Just park your car somewhere, pay and
your car,
hit the road.
probably either
get on the BRT,
on a
get on the ferry,
bus, on a ferry, or on a train, all connected like that. And that is how things work. I just hope that in terms of maintenance, because see, that's where I actually have my greatest problem. It's not actually about the procurement of some of these assets. It's actually about what mechanism have you put in place to actually manage these facilities, this infrastructure? Because I'm looking at the experience that I have with all public infrastructure, not just in Lagos, in Nigeria generally.
No, so on that note, I would like to say that I think they are doing a good job. I'm actually positively impressed about the what's it called now, the other rail lines. I mean, the Lagos Abeokuta Ibadan, that one, and it's still functioning. I know that. Have you been on that ride before?
No.
Oh, you should. So there's one part of it, because I went on the Lagos Ibadan leg of it and back. Anyway, there's a portion, I can't remember now if I think it's in Ogun State. The place is so scary. Like, you could literally, when we went through it, it felt like it was going to tip over and fall off. I think that access, it's not properly done. I think they need to, work on it, because imagine this rogues take 1 or 2 metals from that spot. That is an accident waiting to happen. I can't even imagine it, so let's just not go there. But yes, so far the trains, the coaches are still clean.
They are clean. And the truth is, this one we have actually is a locomotor train.
Yes,
that we're actually going to have the electric train coming because the
tracks.
The idea is because the tracks would actually run on electricity, and that's why for now, because it's still locomotor, it's actually running 12 shifts. Now by the time the electric train comes, it actually will run 76 shifts in a day. And that, imagine, evacuating over,
100,000 plus people,
on a daily basis, running that route. It will take traffic off the road.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Seriously. And I feel that it's something we really need to work on. Because as good as even the Lagos Ibadan, rail line is, these vandals and some of these people that, cross the rail, that, do street trading and things like that. All these people are actually causing a lot of damage to that rail line. And this is something that costs billions of naira, to, put in place. So I think to a large extent, so that should be part of the facility management angle to some of this project. So you talk about the fact that the coaches are still fresh now, and that's why I think that I want to recommend that the government should actually probably outsource,
Get private hands involved, because
private hands
they will
to
deliver more than
work
what the
on the
government will.
facility management. So in
I
fact,
agree with
that's
you.
not even stop it us from probably even not concessioning this project, so that at the end of the day, the concessionaires will continue to remit some amount of money to the state on an annual basis, and they can actually maintain such facilities.
Right. So let's get to the commissioners list. I mean, second list, second batch that was submitted. I understand two other names were dropped. They weren't
In
cleared.
fact, yeah,
Three? The two or
three, 15. No, okay. So the thing there is, the government initially submitted a list of 39, nominees. 22 were confirmed, 17 were dropped. Now, after meeting, political solution, to the whole matter, the Governor's Advisory Council in Lagos, so to say, the illegal but the highest, decision-making body as far as APC in Lagos is concerned, because it's not constitutional actually. So, but then it's an illegal but functional body that has been introduced into the structure of the party in Lagos. Now, the Governor's Advisory Council actually waded in between the feud between the governor and the speaker of the House of Assembly, Ajayi Obasa, so Honorable Obasa, and at the end of the day, eventually reason prevailed and they were able to settle it. So eventually, the governor forwarded an updated 18-man list. 17 were dropped, but he now sent 18-man list. Now, out of the 18-man list, the information that we got was that eventually 15 were confirmed, but 2 were dropped, 1 was stepped down for further scrutiny. So 1 stepped down for further scrutiny, 2 were dropped, and one of those that were dropped, the 2 that were dropped were former commissioners actually. One is the commissioner for in charge of the economic and planning and budgeting. Yes, Sam Egube. He was commissioner for 4 years. From Delta State actually, but then just like the same tradition Tinubu started with Ben Akabwezi and the likes like that. So Sam Egube was also on the cabinet for 4 years with in the first term of Babajide Sanwo-Olu. So this time around he was dropped again. Why that happened, we don't know. It's up to the members of the House. So then one other one too was dropped, but eventually at least our man Akinbayomi actually and I'm saying our man because so in that sense some people feel like at least the man did a wonderful job, especially going by the experience of COVID, that he did a wonderful job, minus the accident, the elevator accident that happened on Lagos Island and things like that. So for the Leraiko, health scheme and things like that, at least that and for the fact that if you see, we don't know the value of what we have probably in Lagos, especially with the hospitals, but to a large extent, we have functional health system in Lagos. It's not as if we are not saying it's the
perfect,
best. We are not saying it's perfect.
It's work in progress.
It's a work in progress, and it's something and that is why to a large extent we must continue to do that. And I think for me, in all of this, I think the emphasis should not be on the politics of it. It should be on the governance aspect of it. And is it something? Are these honorables, the members of the House, are they doing this because of the interests of Lagosians, or because of parochial party interests, or power play with the governor? So I think it's something that we just want them, that let them do their job, let them perform their oversight function, let them checkmate the executive, but at the same time let the overall interest be the progress of Lagos State and the well-being of Lagos citizens.
All right, let's go to Ondo State very quickly. Governor Akeredolu has been away for a bit on medical tourism. He's back now. Is he hale and hearty, or he's just still hanging in there? What's the situation?
Well, he's back, and going by the confirmation also from his wife, Betsy Akeredolu, that man is back. And For now, he actually did not go straight to Ekiti State,
Those
Ondo State to
states.
resume. Actually, his base is, at Ibadan. He's based in Ibadan even before he became a governor. So he went there. That's where his house, his personal house is. So he went to Ibadan at least to recuperate, at least just to relax for some time. Also get briefing from the government before eventually he will probably write a letter to State House of Assembly to inform them that he has now resumed it. Because ordinarily he handed over
Yes.
to his deputy,
Yes.
who has been the acting governor for some months now. Lucky Aiyedatiwa, that's the name of the acting governor of Ondo State. Now, so based on that, you see, two things for me. First is the fact that it's normal that as humans who probably experience frailty in our health and the likes like that. So, and what matters most is let us properly take care of ourselves. Now,
And
in
he
all
did
of
the
this,
decent thing by
and he did the
following the
same
constitution
thing,
rather than
following
just
the
hanging on to
just,
power desperately.
Although
if he
probably
did, nobody would.
there was there were some quarters that were actually against him handing over. Actually,
Of course, typical. Didn't we have that during Yaradua?
Aha, so we have that now. God bless you. You mentioned Yarada. In fact, it was exactly the same thing that is playing now. That people are, that we hope is not a case of Yaradua thing that was hurriedly rushed back to Nigeria and eventually died in office because some people felt that they want to micromanage the government and use his presence, physical presence, but not psychological presence, mental presence, to actually monitor what is going on or really handle everything. That is it true? Has he truly recovered?
That's why I asked, is he hale and hearty?
Is he hale and hearty, or is just a packaging? The same way they did for a former governor of Taraba State as well, Dan Baba Suntai, that had an accident, the man that decided, okay, I had my training as a pilot. Eventually, you that you have not practiced for so many years just went straight into, an aircraft and decided to fly it, and he crash landed. And at the end of the day, the man, lost a single part of his memory, and he could not, so almost turned into a vegetable. He was vegetative for some time. And at the end of the day, the wife too, packaging and every other thing like that, just in order to prevent the deputy from taking over. Now, eventually, what happened? This man died in office. The deputy that were trying to prevent eventually became fat. They removed the deputy. Governor. They removed the deputy, then replaced with another person. Now, that person eventually became deputy governor, and from there, it became the acting governor because the wife was also trying. And the same wife that hurried this man. Now, the man died. This same woman remarried thereafter. The wife of Nababas died. After his death, the widow, eventually, now he married a man that is even younger than herself. See, now, we have Betty Akeredolu, and you know quite well that she has also been having some issues politically. She also tried to actually contest, election, but eventually she did not even get the APC ticket. In Imo State, she was, sent away by, the powers that be there. Let me just put it that way. But then now she's here. She has been saying some women that poisoned her husband, that did that. Yes, now that the one of the appointees of the governor of her husband was one trying to manipulate her husband, things like that. It got so messy and things like that. They also had a situation where they were like, oh, probably the son of Akeredolu is the one that is trying to control the government, before eventually he decided to do a letter and handed over to the deputy. Now the deputy has been in charge. So some people are even saying that the deputy was not probably loyal and things, coming up with all sorts of allegations just to, destroy the relationship between the governor and his deputy. And that one has said that he remains my boss and I respect and I continue to pray for him and things like that. But probably they're also thinking that, see, it's your time. So pray that he should not come back. Now he's back. So, but is he back with the full fitness to run government? We don't know. For me, I just hope that the man can actually take his time. You found it, and the House of Assembly was so gracious to grant him, go and take care of your health, no problem. He asked for 3 months. He extended it that I still will need to be out for some time. Now he's back, and it was indefinite. So it's a case of, for the fact that he's back, he can take
some more time to get fully while he's
recovered.
Here, he can get updates,
things like that.
Visit the office.
I learned that he has actually even asked for some files, and so some of his appointees that will also come and give him briefing before eventually, probably, if he is now fully fit, he can actually now go back to the assembly, write the assembly, and when he is proclaimed the governor again, he he can now ask for a full briefing from his deputy who held sway in his absence. After all, Buhari
Handed over to
Oshibajo, and Oshibajo did the human. And when he came back, Oshibajo, went back and gave him the details of what transpired in his absence and things like. So I think it's something that we really need to look at critically, so that at the end of the day, governance would not suffer at the expense of politics.
Indeed. Let's look at the NLC strike action in the course of the week. It was a 2-day warning strike. The government invited them to a meeting. They ignored and shunned the meeting. TUC, on the other hand, shunned the strike and attended the meeting. So all this, drama between the NLC and the TUC. And incidentally, we had a few Nigerians who sent you a message, "You've been sitting at home for long. We've sat enough. We will die beg you for leave me and strike you alone. Let me do my thing." So is the NLC truly fighting the cause of Nigerians, or it's their own agenda?
I think it's a mixture of both. For me, I would say it's a mixture of both. But for the fact that I belong to the masses, I would accept the fight on our behalf from them, and I'll ask the NLC to also do some house cleaning. On the other part, the political aspect of it.
People. The sentimental.
So, the ethnic and political sentiment of it, which was what actually affected the effectiveness of the strike to a large extent. See, a lot of people felt that. See, NLC is saying the government has really not done anything meaningful.
They've not fulfilled any part of the promise. At least the top of the list, the salary increase, perhaps.
The salary increase. That of palliative you criticize, but you actually did not come up with a better template. In fact, at the point someone said, give Ajero the responsibility of actually sharing the palliatives, and see if I thought he would be the one that actually be going around people's houses one by one himself. Will he not also delegate it to people? Will he not delegate?
Sure.
So if he would delegate, so why are you now saying this? Now look at this strike that we talk about. As far as Lagos is concerned, it wasn't effective. Now imagine the same thing for to be palliatives. So probably that is how it will also, some areas will not, be effective, while some other areas will be effective. As far as the strike is concerned, Abuja, yes, it was effective in Abuja, it was effective in Kaduna, it was effective in Kano, Taraba, and probably one or two other states. But in so many other states, especially in the south here, so a lot of them probably jettisoned, the whole thing. Then it was also, you can also do a sectoral assessment of the strike. For some sectors, yes, it was okay, they did well. In some other sectors, in my own sector, for instance, education, as far as Lagos is concerned, nobody even felt that was a strike. Schools were operational in Lagos.
Because no work, no money. I remember was flagged again. No work, no money. We've not even cleared the one
and it's part of the demands, actually, in this NLC strike. So if I want to be sentimental, I'll say, after all, they also put us in their demands. So let us also support them. But as far as I'm concerned, in fact, during the whole process, school was operational. All levels, primary, secondary, tertiary, were operational. In some schools, depending on how strong the union is, the affiliate union of the NLC, is all will determine if I thought the strike will be successful or not. I know one of my students that told me that at the College of Education that he attends, that the strike was successful. Let me not come out so that they won't come hard at that school and say so that in their own school it was successful, because the lecturer that was supposed to even have a test with them said, don't you know we are on strike? People go away, no test.
Interesting.
Send them away. Now,
because he was not ready.
So there is some other places nobody even knew quite well that was strike or anything like that. So, and that's it. Do you know that IKADC, some employees of IKADC actually followed the strike. They joined the strike. And it was actually, we saw it in the news. Some said we had genuine complaint, but they said they cannot attend to anybody because they were on strike. So in some areas it was effective, in another area. And NLC had come out to tell us that it actually achieved its own objective. At least first is they want to send a message to the government. It was a signal that something greater is actually coming. In about 2 weeks' time, that they will actually go all out for an indefinite strike if government does not do the needful. Now within that 2 weeks, TUC went into a meeting with the Minister of Labour and Productivity, Simon Lalong. They had their deliberations and they gave a 2-week timeline for them to really put some things in place. So we hope that the government too at least would show, a kind of commitment and responsibility in meeting some of these demands, so that at the end of the day, we can actually have industrial harmony. The nature of the economy now cannot survive, the strike action that will ground
Just a quick
all things.
digress. NLC TUC, can they have goal congruence? Isn't it possible that they have
No. What happened was that now the TUC president, Festus Osifo, claimed that first, negotiation is ongoing, discussions are ongoing. It doesn't make sense for you to call a unilateral strike at that point in time. That's number one. The number two is, NLC is not the only labor center. So if you now want us to actually go on a united front, then you cannot be taking unilateral action. That you have your National Executive Council, we also have ours. So you cannot just go to your own Executive Council and come up with a strike and declare a strike without actually even consulting with us.
Another digress. For the benefit of laymen like us, NLC TUC now will be brother, now will be big brother, will be junior brother.
The truth of the matter is, NLC is supposed to be the big brother.
Right.
But if you look at, and in terms of membership, NLC is the big brother.
And in terms of who's been in existence for longer,
NLC is also. But then, you know quite well that this was something that Obasanjo brought in order to actually, it's the divide and rule tactics. That's it. It's politics that they, then it was trying to break the ranks of, Oshomole and his people in NLC. So we feel like, okay, let me break them into pieces. Yeah. And at the end of the day, now put so-called senior staff are those that belongs to TUC.
Interesting.
So if you look at even when it comes to road transport, now NURTW belongs to NLC. Road transport employers belong to TUC. Because these guys are employers. So they are fewer. So, but in terms of membership, NURTW. So you have more junior staff with NLC and the senior staff with. TUC. If you look at the oil sector, so you have a station where Pengerson, because that one, it's senior staff, they belong to TUC. Then New Peng, that has more members,
belongs to NLC.
So at the end of the day, look at it. But if you really want to ground the economy, it is the NLC. The reality. But then, because of the political affiliation of the current leadership of the NLC,
he's the one messing things up for NLC.
He messed up the whole thing. For the fact that he was unable to divorce himself from the political, shenanigans that was going on then. At the end of the day, so it was, unfortunately, he now made it seem like it's both political and ethnic. Joe Ajero, being, so to say, Igbo and Christian, not following Labour Party, Peter Obi, going against, so to say, Lamidia Papa. Then when LP had leadership crisis and things like that, that even if you are the father that gave birth to the Labour Party as a political party, you should be a neutral arbiter.
Because you are holding on to the whole country
and
under
at the
the
end
NLC.
of the day, but then when you now decide to actually show ethnocentrism, partisanship and things like that, at the end of the day, it made the whole people feel like anytime NLC calls for a strike now, you are playing more like the role of opposition. But for me, I think that for now, the only opposition that we have to current administration is actually the Labour Congress. Because the reality is, we have a master tactician, a politician as president. So most likely, if care is not taken,
we're talking about Jagaban.
You are talking about Jagaban. He's a political professor.
Jagaban that pulled the rug from under Obasanjo. Are you winding?
Obasanjo. You are talking about Obasanjo, someone that defeated an incumbent government. Jonathan. So at the end of the day, you don't have that person now as the president.
And
if care is not taken, the opposition will die in this country. And that's why we need labor centers like the NLC and the TUC as the only voice in the wilderness that can actually speak on behalf of the masses to the government. So I don't want a weakened NLC. But unfortunately, Joe Ajero is not helping matters for me. And I think he really needs to, do soul searching and see, am I fighting in the interest of the masses or am I fighting a political fight? So that at the end of the day, he doesn't lose both. Right.
Unilag, my beloved Unilag. What is going on there? Are you there? What's going on?
Which one?
It's the two together. The two joined together. No, it's a good thing first and foremost that this guy that raped a 20-year-old woman in his office. But that's anyway. Yeah. And then the tear gas, UNILAG students. I mean, it's natural to protest. Why tear gas them?
All right. Let me start with the first one that I mentioned, the rape thing. And for me, I would actually give kudos to the university management for the fact that they actually didn't do a cover up. I know an
Which is the
investigation
norm.
is going on, and for me, I would not, because it's also a senior colleague that is involved. I would not be quick to point accusing fingers. I would allow the law enforcement authorities, to carry out that investigation, conclude their investigation, and if found guilty, let them be prosecuted appropriately and let the law take its course. And for me, kudos to the management for not, covering up the whole matter and for expressing support and cooperation to the law enforcement agencies in doing their job. And that thing, to me, I think it's very commendable. And I know quite well that the university has zero tolerance for sexual harassment because there is a policy in place. If I was at a training, at the university on Thursday and Friday, and this, with for course advisors, faculty officers and the likes like that. That when we talk about our students, see, they are our products, and when we talk about the fact that a lot of schools benefit from alumni, it's because of the experiences that they had while in school. So if you're making them have a very terrible experience, they will never come back. And they'll never have anything to associate with the alma mater. So, and I think to a large extent, and this issue of sexual harassment also came up. And it was emphasized that the university has zero tolerance for it, and there can be no justification for harassment of anybody whatsoever. Whether you say they are indecently dressed or not, that is not a justification to sexually harass anybody whatsoever. And on that basis, the university stood its ground and they did a proper thing to hand over the person that is involved. Go and sort yourself out. So we will not interfere with the investigation. Conduct your, unbiased, investigation, and let the law take its course. By the time the result of the investigation is out, then the university authorities can now take a decision on the employment status or any other disciplinary measure against the, staff that is involved.
Right.
And for me, I think to a large extent too that. We should not, because I know that sometimes some of these things are coming up. Just like we can have it in any sector with anybody, we should not demonize academics and the university system on the basis of the misdeeds of the Judas amongst us. Just like, so I'm saying this because before you know it, and that also speaks to all those working in the university system. It might not even be lecturers, it might also be some admin staff and other things like that. Let us give proper orientation to our children. Let's give proper orientation to students, and the university has been doing that. And for me, it is the fact that we should not demonize the system because of the mistakes of some people. Let us not, sacrifice everybody because of the mistakes of others. Imagine demonizing all the disciples of Jesus Christ just because of the sins of Judas. And that is one thing I don't want people to, because I know, brother, before you know it, people are looking at these people that are harassing our children.
So just
I don't
to
want
has
that
it
to
ever
happen.
crossed your mind that perhaps I get a CCTV camera in my office just to protect me in case of anything untoward happens, and I can present raw evidence to cleanse myself? Has it ever
For
crossed
the
your
lecturers?
mind? Yes, the lecturers.
For me, I'm
Installing
thinking
CCTV
about.
cameras
Yeah,
in
I'm
their
thinking about.
office.
Yeah. Sincerely, I feel that is also very, very important, because I know quite a lot of people. We only
Hear
hear
about
about
the
the
lecturers.
victims.
Yes, we
We
don't
also
know
don't
when
know
the lecturers themselves are victims.
Yes,
Because I
because a
know
lot of
I'm
people
aware of one or two
there are so
instances
many.
back
See,
in
let me
school.
tell you, I have a real life example of this happening. I have been,
You've shared it before where
you
you were
know,
in the office and a student came to sexually harass the lecturer.
sincerely.
So I know. So I'm just
In fact,
wondering
minus
if they've
that,
thought about it.
minus that, this one actually happened to me personally with another student. Now, it's something that could have probably led to something else. And someone is trying to say, oh, I admire you, I like you, and things like that. I even sent a message that I like you and I love that we should. But then, it's all about self-discipline. And I think to a large extent, we should also look at some of the challenges some of these people also go through, the pressures and things like that. While not justifying anything, we should also look at the fact that it takes two to tango. Some things must have led to one of those things. And a lot of times, some of these people that I also look at, some of them, it's probably because someone has failed to do the needful in one area. I'll feel like, okay, let me do anything just to be able to probably... There are, see, genuine cases like that, where a student intentionally would want to seduce a lecturer because they feel like, I didn't do well in your course. And probably, if this is a price that I have to pay, so that I can get my way and probably just, get over with this course and nothing stops me from probably graduating or something like that, I'm ready to do. But unfortunately, sometimes some of those people eventually will now come back to blackmail, the lecturer that is involved, that this person did this person did that. Not saying, and at the end of sometimes they even now turn the case around to say that it was because I was not ready to play the ball. That was why probably this person decided to fail me. And you like fail you when you already passed the course. Some of these things happen, but for me, I don't want that to be the focus. The focus here is that we are having a case of someone that is alleged to have been raped. Now this is it's not just even ordinary case of probably on amorous relationship between two people, especially when you are looking at the scale of power, that the lecturer is here, the student is here, so there is an imbalance of power here. So at the end of the day, the blame would actually be on someone, on the lecturer. Fine, but then we're also talking about the fact that we're not talking about rape, a forceful carnal knowledge of an individual just because the person came to your office. That's criminal. Absolutely criminal and very condemnable. And to a large extent, because I don't have all the details, and I'm not security agencies who probably do diligent investigation, I cannot say anything concerning that. Well, I should probably pass blame or put blame on someone who probably have not even had his defense or something like that. But then he has a right to his defense, and an accused remain innocent until proven guilty. He's still a suspect as far as I'm concerned. Are you with me? As far as I'm concerned, he's still a suspect. So I will not crucify him. But then I am only saying that if truly what has been alleged is what really happened, then that is very, very bad. I'm trying to imagine. I have a daughter, and I'm imagining that if it were my daughter that was raped, how would I feel as a parent? And imagine how the emotional trauma such a victim will probably go through. It could actually be, it's a
not
scar.
Even just, that's a permanent scar, because it's not just this case now. Then the case is won and she wins and he's sent. How does she then move through school
and things
all
like
of
that?
Will she
and I love the
leave
fact that the identity for now has actually been kept secret. So
it is kept secret, but to the circles,
people
know.
No, those who know.
And point fingers.
And that was part of the question that was raised: that how do we protect the students in terms of
stigma,
the stigma, not just that,
there's everything.
Minors, there's this idea that a lot of people,
other teachers picking on her on behalf of their friends,
esprit de corps. So that, are we sure we will not have
safe in
is
schools,
she safe? Are we sure we will not have a case of collective punishment? That's the fear a lot of students have, which actually keeps them from actually coming out to really voice out some of their concerns and some of their experiences.
If I were the parent, I'll see the case through and pull my daughter out. That's it. I'm not taking her back to that school. Not for any reason. For her own safety. Because this person would have friends among students. Sympathizers among students, among
staff, colleagues like that who feel like you are the one that actually led to so and so.
His downfall.
And would also deal with it. So that's something that we need to look at. And for quickly on the issue of the tear gas thing, this I find very condemnable. And I'm trying to choose my words carefully. I think to a large extent.
Peaceful protests.
Peaceful protests. Genuine protests. See, sincerely, there is no way. The economy is harsh. I understand where the management is coming from. The management says, see, there is no money. It's a reality. Now, that is because that is what the management sees. You cannot beat a child and also tell the child not to cry. No. That's wrong.
But we do that as parents.
We do. It's very, very bad.
Shut your mouth. Hold it.
Hold your lips and things like that. After beating the child. It's very, very wrong. It's very, very wrong. Seriously. It's very, very wrong. So now, we're looking at a case of, I think, to a large extent. And I'm saying this not because I'm a staff of UNILAG, but I'm saying this because I've also been a student. And I understand what we go through. And I understand even kind of alluded that we also did as students. I'm trying to imagine that. How would I feel? The same way we accuse the authorities then of being draconian, of being insensitive to the plight of students. Is that not what we're also doing? That's one. Number two is we're talking about an ivory tower. And we're talking about the fact that we are teaching our students to learn how to behave, to be able to we are trying to modify and reform their behavior. And we are teaching them grievance procedure. That when things happen, how do you react to things? Now, we are teaching them, we're not putting it into practice. And that I find very, very unfortunate. See, these students, they can let them protest. So far, they are not destroying things. So far, they are not even saying that, oh, we must close down the university. No. It's a case of management, see reason. Please be considerate. Even if you will not consider their plea, at least give them a listening ear. Allow them to
voice,
let them air their opinion. Let them have their voice. They will have their say. In fact, engage with them. It's even possible that in the midst of this engagement, we can actually come to a compromise and probably even have a joint presentation probably before the National Assembly or with the Minister of Education to say that this. Okay, you guys gave this approval. Okay, can you probably reverse it? When at the point the same government of the day says they have not given any approval to any institution to actually go out to increase fees.
Yes.
That it's actually being preemptive of the student loan thing. That is actually a preemptive decision by university management. Then why are we actually, very, very, how do I put this? Why is it that we don't tolerate differing opinions? We don't tolerate dissent. We don't tolerate, a difference of opinion to what we feel. Yeah. And that, to me, is not education. Education is you understanding the fact that we can actually disagree on the same thing and both of us will be correct. That's true education. That these students are saying that this is expensive, and you are saying we cannot manage the cost of, running this school if you want us to really, give you the best. Now, can we have a midpoint? Or can you have a situation where by the time you explain to them, they might even see reason as to
because
the
that
justification.
Was what happened in my time.
No, by the time you explain things to them, they might even see, let me tell you.
A very popular VC.
Omotola. Of blessed memory.
May Allah forgive and have mercy on him. He was
close.
He will come out.
See, that is what I expect.
Stand with you.
In fact, do you know what I expect? I expected, and for this, that's for the university management, because I think to a large extent, for the fact that we don't even allow student unionism, you are not giving them a platform for them to constructively and meaningfully engage with authorities. Now, if they don't learn how to do this as students, how do they learn collective bargaining when they go out of the university? So I think the education they are even having in University of Lagos is incomplete. When you don't have student unionism, your experience as a student is incomplete. You might say, yeah, they have fundamental association, they have cultural association. Then when you know quite well that they have no mouth, they have no say, you don't even engage them. It's a case of this is their order, go and implement. You have no choice in this matter. Is that not the way we relate with them? And we say we are giving them education. The education is incomplete. Let us say the fact. And I'm saying this because it's not just for UNILAG. There are so many schools that are intolerant of anything student unionism. So we are giving them incomplete education. Whereas
they were
active.
Student union,
student union, whatsoever during your time as students. So at the end of the day, so now if we behave this way, how then, what moral justification do we have to condemn government when they quell, public protests? No, we are doing the same thing that we are criticizing the government for. How are we better? Imagine. And you call yourself the ivory tower when you're supposed to actually model how society should be run. And you are not doing that. And you teach that in classes. Excuse me, that's not how to run things. And unfortunately, to the police, some of you have children amongst them. And unfortunately, I'm trying to imagine why is it that any little thing like this, protest, the next thing is
sledgehammer.
Killing a mosquito.
Sledgehammer.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Calling out, the security men and armed to the teeth because of students who are unarmed, whose only weapon they have with them is a cardboard to say that, and their voice, that please hear us, listen to us. This is inconvenient for us. Is that too much to ask for? In the midst of these harsh economic conditions, and we are talking about this, you are increasing school fees are about 400 to 500% manifold. You might say yes, for so many years, for almost 10, 15 years, you have not increased fees. That's not the the fault of those children. That the government has failed to do the needful, should it now mean that you should just directly transfer the burden to the students without even engaging them meaningfully? No, it doesn't happen. You say you have engaged them. Where are the proofs? At what time? Who exactly did you engage? And when you say engagement, sometimes I look at it when people talk about engagement. Engagement is not a one-way thing. I'm giving you information, is not engagement.
We need to dialogue.
Was there any bargaining? You did hear your part? Were there proposals? See, that's one thing I cherish, because I remember as an undergraduate then, the school manager will say, this is the fees. The student will say, no, this is what we can do. At the end of the day, start, moving back and forth. At the end of the day, you're able to shift ground. That's where we learned all these terms from. Where did they come from? Is it not from these kinds of engagement? So that at the end of the day, we know quite well that, okay, the student leaders are able to report back. You knew quite well this was the fee they brought. Now, based on our engagement, this was what we arrived at. And I think to a large extent was also reason along with them that these are things that need to be put in, and these are the commitments that they made.
You can see why the tear gas was brought in. From the management perspective, there is no student union government. And we're not listening to students. We don't have any business with you.
So, and part of the claim would be that some of these students, some of them are not even students of University of Lagos. Did you actually check?
Did you ask them for ID card?
Did you ask them for ID card? And I think it's another thing that, okay, fine, if you want to protest, as far as I am concerned, I would have even loved a situation where the manager would have said, okay, if you want to protest within the premises of the university, don't go out.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two is that it must not be unruly. It must be organized. Have your say, and let us have those that would probably discuss with us on your behalf. Send your representatives. In fact, I would have even expected that, okay, the DSA will be the one that will send to their midst, okay, let us do the protest. See, we'll do the protest together. I'll be with you. So that you will know that we feel what you feel. We understand what you're saying. But then, I am your leader. I am the Dean of Student Affairs. I'm with you. So we'll be on this together. Let us do it within the university so that the outsiders will not even be disturbed. So the police and whatsoever, if I thought they want to even join us, let them be there. So at least to be sure that
ensure there
is orderliness. Nobody goes beyond, the necessary, and you don't disturb those who really don't have any business, with it. So you don't, harass people and things like that. Is that not what we ought to do? If we teach these students how to actually embark on public protest in a peaceful manner, in an engaging manner, and we demonstrate that to them, are we not sending that message to them that this is how to do things? And I tell people that the NSAS protest of 2020 and how it eventually became at that toll gate, you cannot remove that from the fact that some of these students that participated in these things were actually students of schools that whose management really don't even tolerate student unionism. So they don't even know how to show grievances in a peaceful and meaningful manner. They don't even know how to engage a higher authority without being abusive.
Indeed, and disruptive.
Without being disruptive.
Because how do you see an ambulance conveying a patient and you stop the ambulance
and you
from
say
moving
in the name because you are protesting? So these are things. So at the end of the day, we really need to educate. So for the police, it's unfortunate. And you guys really need to understand that this is not military time anymore. This is democracy, and this is not how to do things. We need to advance our
civilians for a reason. We should be civil in our mannerisms.
The truth of the matter is, you must understand that you guys are actually civilian, security agencies. And at the end of the day, we are supposed to believe in police even more than the army when it comes to civilian relationships.
Because
but unfortunately,
you are the go-to
for us. And at the end of the day, how dare you treat us that way? It doesn't make any sense. And this is not how to do things. Please. So we are calling out these security men, the police, that this is not how to engage. In fact, someone was asking the question, why tear gas? Why is it that Nigerian police, we don't use probably water cannons? Why don't you have rubber bullets? That any little thing you hear that police shot someone, why must we use live ammunition to people that are unarmed? When did we, you know, it's rather unfortunate.
Right. I don't think this would calm your nerves either. I think this would even take the heat up even further. The 16.5 trillion naira loss to crude oil theft in 14 years, and when the NIMASA, NPA, and NNPCL were invited for probes, they shunned the probe.
Well, for me, I think I would say that the House of Rep that's actually carrying out this probe. It was at that probe that 90 Nigerian Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative came out with that figures that from 2009 till date, in about 14 years, Nigeria has lost about 16 trillion naira in value as a result of crude oil theft. It was valued in billions of dollars upon conversion. That was how they got that 16
just before you
trillion
before you go on, when you say crude oil theft, this is not the illegal mine extraction. That's not that one.
No, it's not illegal.
That's not even covered
it's not
in this
even.
figure,
No,
right?
it's
This
not.
is outright
It did not even
stolen,
cover smuggling,
right?
Of petroleum products. No.
Okay.
We're talking about crude oil thefts, and
that is we've extracted the crude oil. We're supposed to send it out for cleansing. That's refining
minus
and
even
bringing
cleansing.
it
Even
back.
if you want to sell, let us sell through the legal means. Now,
Right.
These are the figures, the funds, that were not captured by government, that were lost to some of these other players. Who are not, susceptible or subservient to anyone. They take these products, they sell, they pocket the money, and the money does not go back to government coffers. It doesn't even benefit the community.
So if we then add the illegal refineries and add the smuggling, the figure will be mind-boggling. This is mind-boggling enough.
It's already mind-boggling that you have 16 trillion naira, and we as a nation, we actually don't even have that as revenue. So you look at it, and at the end of the day, 90 came up with a comprehensive report to say that, it's actually an industry.
Organized.
It's an organized crime.
Yeah.
The authorities are involved, the NNPC, all those, all the different
NIMASA.
ones, they are involved. You talk about the fact that security agents are involved.
Of course.
Youths, so-called restive youths, they are involved. Communities are involved. Community leaders, traditional rulers are involved in these thefts. So at the end of the day, officials of government in offices who ought to give approvals, who ought to know, they know that this is ordinary, this is approved. We should be doing 2 million, but we're claiming we're doing 1.6 million. The 400,000 barrels difference, where does it go to?
He has 2 of the barrels in his pockets.
So that's what we have been doing to ourselves. And at the end of the day, that was why, if you hear the speaker's speech, he was very, very angry. The chairman of the committee was very, very angry that, come on, you mean all this had been going on?
Is he angry? Where is my own share? Is that the anger? How do we interpret that anger?
Let me not.
Let's interpret it as though he's truly genuinely angry on behalf of Nigerians.
The anger now stems from the fact that you mean all this has been going on, and at this kind of probe, we don't have representation from the NNPC, they don't have representation from the NPA, no representation from NIMASA. In fact, one was quite shocking. The NNPC gave approval of a security surveillance for pipeline contracts to a particular company that wants to use technology to be able to deploy technology. You have paid for it, and you don't allow the person to engage.
You refuse the person coming to the probe?
Yeah. No, not refuse the person from coming to the probe. The person that got the contract to implement, so that how we can manage our pipelines properly, to secure them and using technology, got the approval, got paid, and for him to implement, he did not give approval to come and to come and implement it.
Okay.
And that was all infuriating. You mean they did this? I said yes. That it has gone beyond the fact that we just want to make money. Some people don't want these things to work. And that's why when former President Obasanjo said that the refineries will not work, even by December, that President Tinubu promised.
Because he knows the players
I have been there before.
And the presidency responded to him and said,
that
"You're not the engineer.
you are not an engineer.
So you can't say that
you
it
can't
will
say
not
that
work.
it
Go
will
and
not
sit down
work.
somewhere.
Go and sit
What
down.
you are compromised. Go and sit down. We will do it and it will work. Let's
Now, I hope that the president can disappoint me and former President Obasanjo.
I pray. I'm not hoping. I'm going to pray
Okay.
and we'll fast about it and we
Okay.
will support him with our prayers. Because
Alright.
if we do get it right, it's a win for the entire Nigerians, physically available and the ones in diaspora. It's a win.
So,
it's a shut up win, like
now, that's
in your
the way
face
it is.
win.
Because he said that was why he contemplated the idea of selling the refineries in the first instance. That because he called on Shell and they said they cannot manage. He was even inviting them to come and manage, to help Nigeria to manage it, more like kind of concessioning thing. And this one said no. That first, our own operation is actually upstream, not downstream. Number 2 is corruption.
I can't be paying all those bribes. The one I'm paying is overwhelming enough. I cannot handle
that
level of corruption if I had to manage your
sabotage
refinery.
and many other things like that. No.
Right.
So he now said that. Say, what is it? He said they are good as dead. Say, oh. So for that reason that he was not like, if the multinational corporations are not even ready to buy this,
they're not interested.
They're not interested in buying. So who then? That eventually around that same time, Dangote and Otedola and probably one other person came up together that they were going to buy 2 of the 4 refineries that we had. So that he was very happy that, oh, finally, at least this responsibility will be off government's neck. And that was why he sold it. But unfortunately, Yar'Adua came and reversed the sale. And to a large extent, now more than 20 years, close to 20 years after now, we are now waiting. The whole nation now is now waiting for Dangote refinery. Now imagine probably what would have achieved if probably
those 2 refineries had taken
off at that particular time and things like that. That's
and
why
unfortunately Yar'Adua is not here to upturn
probably,
what he did. Like why was able to revise
or even probably provide justification for the reversal of the sale. That because that one said, I think the excuse then was that due process was actually not followed, and probably too that it's possible that the refinery was actually undervalued.
It's not impossible.
You see,
but that could have been an incentive because if you say a Shell turned it down and a homegrown investor is trying to take it over, you could have incentivized him by dropping the value. Just
so the
complaint
it was not because it was overpriced. The rejection was not on the basis of being overpriced. It was more on the fact that Nigerians would be Nigerians and we're not ready for that kind of weekend. So.
Right. So we go outside. No, before we leave Nigeria, let's go to Pastor Gandhi.
Okay. Sean of Ogbomoso. Hey, it has been long coming. Pastor.
Paito. It's God that called me.
It's part of it. See, the reality is this. And to me, it's actually my grouse with the so-called practitioners of the, so to say, traditional religion. The Isheshe people, God bless them. The reality is they've monopolized traditional authorities in this country.
Okay.
And that's unfortunate. It's rather unfortunate because at the end of the day, that has scared away people with good conscience who really have what it takes to deliver, to bring development to their communities if they probably get the stool or, this traditional stool in their communities. And the encumbrances of so-called, you have to probably drop your religion and accept and adopt the Isheshe practice, the rituals and all these other, pagan, idolatry practices attached to, this traditional stool.
Okay.
Then if probably those ones are not there, you probably will have the same system like probably the Emirates in the north where your religion, it's not about, in fact, we need the religious people to actually lead the people correctly and guide them appropriately. And at the end of the day, if they can bring their experiences in other sectors of the economy, probably where they've operated, they can bring that to bear on the traditional stool. A lot of development will actually come to this community. But unfortunately, now you're saying that until you are ready to practice with us, and you follow all this, going to the lady, going to this, going to that, eating this, sacrifice, that one, in the name of, and other things like that. Not many people, a lot of people would actually not come there. Now, For this, Pastor Gandhi, remember that the late Sean Ajagungbade the third died in December 2021.
Okay.
And the whole process had been ongoing. Eventually, he was appointed by Governor Sheyi Makinde, and that was challenged in court that he was not part of the the whole process from the beginning. That it was more like trying to use influence to bring him on board and things like that. So they went to court. In fact, the case is still in court, but then they felt that no, we cannot continuously have this. That we have done all that needs to be done. The kingmakers have already approved of his appointment. So the state government just decided that you see it's time. Yeah, go ahead and install him. So he has been installed. He has not been crowned. He has been installed, and the crowning, the coronation. So the process would start. It's a whole process. So just like when the late monarch of England died, at the end of the day, it was a whole process before the coronation eventually. So this process too has started. So many other things will be done. But the man flew in with a private jet, from the U.S. He's a pastor of the Redeemed Church there in the U.S. So he flew in on Friday and Wednesday, and they got him installed. So now the thing now the question of what is he looking for in this traditional stool. Now, that is for him to actually decide. Now, I wouldn't know if at all he is ready to forego. But he's a prince, belong to the Laoye, line of, kings, as far as Ogbomoso is concerned. In fact, one of those actually even sued him to court and sued the state government. He's actually someone too that bears the same surname with him, from the same family, feeling that no, it doesn't have to, it shouldn't be you, probably it should be me, and things from the same, traditional ruling house. So, for me, minus the fact that the case is in court, I would just feel like, well, if he has the interest of his people at heart, then, and he feels probably there is no conflict, if he does not see a conflict between the practices and his own personal beliefs as probably a Christian or even a pastor, then so be it.
Right. We wish him a happy reign.
Yes, so yes.
Oyamori,
Kábíyèsí o, kádé ó pẹ́ lórí, kí bàtà ó pẹ́ lẹ́sẹ̀, kírù pẹ̀rẹ̀ pẹ́ lọ́wọ́, káṣe ó pẹ́ lẹ́nu. Yes. Although we didn't touch on the PPT.
Wish the people in Ogbomoso. Yeah, so because we've scratched the PPT, the drama is just when we get to Supreme Court and come back, then
let me just say one point here.
Okay.
Now, from the PEPT judgment, first, I want to commend all the judges. We're talking about a judgment that took about almost 12 and a half hours, from 9:30 till 10 o'clock in the night.
It was televised, thankfully.
Televised
so
live.
There was nothing
nothing shady.
Yeah.
We never knew how they... And it was very comprehensive. In fact, it was like going to class. Seriously, all aspects were touched. It was thorough. It was all-encompassing, all-embracing. And one thing, for me as a taker, number one is the fact that, see, lawyers in Nigeria really need to do a lot. See, enough of probably just collecting money from clients and without actually being thorough with our jobs. There are some other things. So many. No, I'm not throwing stones at LP lawyers. All lawyers. All of them involved. In fact, see, the truth of the matter is...
How do you tender an Amazon as, an evidence?
The truth is, it wasn't even Amazon in any way.
No,
seriously. These were some of the things that were faulted. See, for me, it was more of frivolous petitions, one. Number two is, see, when it comes to, cases in courts, emotions don't win case.
Social media banter.
Social media intimidation does not win cases in courts. It's about your petitions, your prayers, the facts that you have presented, the witnesses that you call, to the dock, and how well you're able to marshal your points through your lawyers that actually win you cases in court. Enough of emotions. And unfortunately, what I found most surprising is the way the judges of the court were denigrated by the supporters of, the petitioners. It's rather unfortunate. And we are I'm beginning to see reality that these people truly, for who they are nothing but headless mobs. The other time they were being, probably some of them were being called obedient. Sincerely, they only just proved that they are nothing but obedient. Because the reality is that, how do you attack the personality of judges? simply because a case does not go your way. How do you subsume the idea that Nigerians, as if all Nigerians voted for one particular person? I don't know where that is coming from. I don't have anything against the person of Mr. Peter Obi. In fact, like we always say, as far as the 2023 of the election, he's the MVP. But then, how then do you come, denigrate people, attack their races, attack their families, use lies and so many things, malign their personality,
Sling mods,
mudslinging on, social media, everywhere, attacking them and abusing, even using ethnic slurs against these people, and claiming that the judges were the one defending even Tinubu in courts. It's not. See, how can you claim that 18,000? Look at it. If you see, and that's why I love the fact that even the judges find their the petitioners, because look about a situation where how can you claim an election is fraught with irregularities, and at the end of that same election you are claiming you are praying that you should be declared the winner. From an election that suffered irregularities. How do you do that? That you are claiming that you scored the highest number of votes in an election, and you not even tell us what your exact votes are, how you're able to tally it. That you claim that 18,000 polling unit results were not clear on the IRF, and you did not bring up your own clear results. How do you claim that there were change of figures, and you did not even call any of your own polling agents to testify in court and say that, okay, this was what INEC tendered, this was the one that they signed, that we got a copy.
No, they're trying to protect the individuals because they don't want them
sincerely,
to be
it's
attacked.
not true. But when they brought the same person, now, how do you not even come and commit perjury in court? You claim that someone works for Amazon, is an IT guru. Eventually, if it was found out that this person does not even work for Amazon in any way, he's not even an IT expert, rather just an employee of Mr. Peter Obi, and a member of the Labour Party. Someone that already has such a partisanship and has expressed that, and you now expect that such a person's witness to be considered by the court
as valid.
Or the issue of the 25%. And you are saying the court, I say, how do you interpret? And even they schooled all of us. Even bringing that, telling you that even when you have a conjunction, see, they have different, is it conjunctive or disjunctive function that is serving it? Even quoting dictionaries, see, for every position they went through the court of law, and they provided, judicial precedents for everything. In fact, even for APC, so you guys are actually being, you are going beyond your bounds, claiming that Obi was not validly nominated by his party because he was not a member of the party. That it's not your business. It's only a member of the Labour Party that can claim that, I am this person that should be validly nominated. That whoever that the party has nominated remains the candidate of the party. So you have no grounds upon which, and it was on the same basis that even those that were trying to nullify the nomination of Kashim Shettima, fell flat on their faces. That you're saying he was not validly nominated, it's not your business. You are a meddlesome interloper.
Meddle into other people's business.
Yes.
There is no poker. You're poking your nose.
Seriously. Because at the end of the day, see, the same thing they did for APC to say that you have no business. Even if Mr. Peter Obi was not a member of the Labour Party, it is only Labour Party people that can claim that. And it doesn't hold value for you to now say on that basis probably such a person's election should be nullified, because it's not a ground upon which the candidature of a person for presidency can be nullified. So on that basis, even the issue of a drug, 25% Abuja, that if the beginning of our constitution, the introduction says that all the people of Nigerians who, we are all co-equals and things like that, for the fact that we all swore. So that means all of us are equal.
And FCT cannot have a higher degree and grade over any state.
Confer special status to any voter above and beyond every other voter anywhere else in Nigeria. So it's not an electoral vote. It's not an electoral college vote that you can say, this one command this also number of votes. This is not an electoral college vote. It's by popular vote. And on what basis then would you now say 25% in Abuja? So because someone does not score, so you mean that even someone wins the whole 36 and did not win 25% in Abuja, such a person cannot be declared the winner? Where did you get that from? All these things, it was very, very detailed. Very, very detailed. Now, how can you claim, for instance, that Tinubu was convicted of drugs and things like that? The truth of the matter is, the authorities that could do that have already said that this guy was not convicted. He was not the one that was convicted. One. Number two is that he has no criminal records. And the same thing, the police provided that, the U.S. constantly provided that. What else do you want? So, see, all the grounds upon which, and that's why I see all of them said for lacking in merit. So it was thrown out. So it's not about emotions. So they were fined.
Right.
So for all of this, I think that it is us that needs to get ourselves educated. We need education, not sentiments.
Absolutely. And I would have loved us to end it on that note because we are out of time. But I want us to quickly, in 1 minute, Dr. OLUBUNMI, just 60 seconds, the two juntas, the Gabon and the Niger. I see that things are looking up a bit. Niger, they've reopened their airspace for civil aircrafts. And in Gabon, they've released Ali Bongo and granted him
No, the truth, like, starting from Niger, the thing is, they suspended their own flight because they felt that during that time, that any aircraft that comes in probably will be seen as an enemy to the Nigerians because they felt that would be fighting. So on that basis, but after some time they felt that nothing was happening, so they decided to reopen the airspace so that it could allow for civil, aircraft to actually come in and come for commercial aircraft too as well. So that is that. And for the case of Gabon, the Nguema guy, General Brass Nguema, a cousin of the Bongos. Eventually, I found out. I said it was a cousin.
It was a family affair.
Yeah, it was a family affair. So, but I know, from records, he was
a staff at the time.
So, but then, so now he got him. He was inaugurated as interim president.
Right.
And the guy said, "Well, we would have elections, but not put dates."
Yeah.
So, and I know for the
let me enjoy small.
So it's a case. We cannot rush into elections. So
don't rush me. Let me enjoy small.
Let me enjoy small. So that's how it is.
Allow me to enjoy myself.
So, and at the end of the day, so for Bongo, they came out to say that now he has been freed from detention. Because he was arrested, put under house arrest and things. Now that I said, and for the fact that Bongo actually suffered a stroke in 2018, so he has been managing his health since then and things like so he has affected the right side of his body. So they felt that for now he's no longer under house arrest, so he has right to travel for medical treatment or any other thing like that. Probably can even decide to go and seek asylum or go on exile or whatsoever. He's free now. So so for me, and for the fact that immediately after that happened, the Economic Committee of Central African States actually suspended Gabon.
Yes.
And the same thing for African, so they were like, at least let us not have a situation, be soft on us. We will release him. Unlike the case of Mohamed Bazoum that was, that has been kept in detention and used probably as a bargaining chip that if you come and attack us, we'll kill him. So in this case, we are not interested in killing him. The only thing is just that we don't want him in power anymore. Right. At least he has spent about 16 years. So let him also go and rest. Let him go and take care of his health.
Yes.
So while another person, takes charge. Right. So it remains to be seen if this is the way we actually want to go in Africa.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. OLUBUNMI. Always refreshing having a chat with you. We'll see you same time next week with another beautiful package of the news review. Until then, make the news, but in a positive way. Dr. OLUBUNMI.
All right. Take care of yourself. The economy is hard, but then there's always hope at the end of the tunnel. So let us find a way by which on our own we can actually, weather the storm of these economic conditions. So don't depend on government. See, you're not a beggar. And unfortunately, they don't even have your interest at all when it comes to the palliative. So it might not even get to you. So don't even expect it at all. Work yourself and find means to survive. Thank you.
Right. We'll see you next week. Have a blessed weekend.